What is vibing? So I'm gonna try to make this video short, direct, informative as much as I can. Um, we could actually spend hours talking about this because there are endless opinions, thoughts, ways of seeing and understanding really what it means to vibe with someone or feeling the vibes, catching the vibes. And as humanity continues to ascend to fourth dimension, fifth dimension, and people are now realizing who they are beyond their identity and understanding or wanting to understand better their psychic, who they are beyond the mind. I feel like this video can be very helpful for a lot of people who are consider, they consider themselves seekers, explorers of this thing called the self. Well, first of all, the moment you connect to someone, you start creating a cord, and this invisible cord is emanating from both sides. And we can use that as an example of what it means to vibe with someone. A lot of the times, communication is really clear. Both people, both entities are coming from a place of truth, of love. And this vibe, this connection is beneficial for both parties. Therefore, both parties give and receive good from each other. What does that mean, really? The good vibes that we talk about, I would say, is like, oh, I got a good vibe. I got the excitement. I got the, I got a good feeling. I got a sense of hope. I felt comfortable around this person. I felt aligned to this person. Um, you want to ask yourself, what does it mean when you catch good vibes from someone, right? You want to answer that for yourself. What does it mean when you're vibing positively versus when you're vibing negatively? You connect to someone and you start feeling like some negativity from that other person, like some judgment that you are emanating to that person or you're receiving from that person. There's no way to know really which entity is polarized versus which entity is completely negative. The fact is, when two entities are negative, polarized, and they connect, they're emanating something sort of not considered positive, according to, the spiritual view or in regards to your emotional body. So you have the emotional body that is resonating in different frequencies. There are times when you are at really high frequencies, you are emanating kindness, peace, love. And there are times when you're vibrating hate, self-hate, or doubt, fear. Fear is all over. And the world is driven by fear. People wake up because they have to pay the bills. They know if they don't go to work, they don't pay the bills. So a lot of people in the workplace, they connect to in stores, in restaurants, and all these places, although they try to, you know, radiate positivity, it's not easy for them to maintain that frequency all day long as they are also giving and receiving constantly, and they're picking up a lot from the people who are the people they're serving. So environments like this is really full of some of the negative vibes, because if fear is the lowest vibration, like consider the emotion that has the lowest vibration, then you understand the fear is birth to anger, hate, sadness, worries, etc. But when you are in an environment that is radiating positivity, let's say you go to a concert and everybody is in the present moment, everyone's connected to what's happening right there, no one is judging in their minds, and that also creates a vibratorial field that when you connect to it, you're receiving it and you start to feel good, excited. Um, Most importantly to know is that you can connect to anyone who is anywhere. Even like, people who tend to text a lot and message emails back and forth, be aware of how you're feeling in each moment. Because when you disconnect from that place in yourself and you're really just being really rational and you're just disassociating from everything that you're feeling, you might realize at the end of the day that you feel drained, and when you go to sleep, you can't quite feel at peace. You feel like there's a lot of energy that's being like repressed within. I can remember myself maybe 8 years ago when I was completely disconnected from my spiritual side, from my spiritual heart, from my emotional heart. And it was very challenging for me at that time also to sleep because I was constantly on that place of giving and receiving without having no clue of really what I was doing. When I started to realize this better, I became more self-conscious with like the exchanges I was having with other people, like the messages I'm sending, like how this is returning to me, that feedback when it's negative can put you in a place called hell, where you just feel blocked, where you just feel scared, where you just don't understand really what's happening. And a lot of that emotionally, spiritually, that happiness can also be expressed in the physical, maybe creating some physical illness. So how do I manage my emotional state? Obviously, I've talked about different spiritual practices you can do to release this energy of the body, but if you just stick to this healthy practice and you don't pay attention to what's creating that, it's pointless to really stick to those habits because you're going to continue to practice them, you're going to feel a little better, and then you're going to go back to that place that originated those negative vibes. So how can we maintain a positive exchange with others? Well, you want to be truthful, you want to be honest, but you also want to be aware of how you're receiving these energies without freaking out. Because the moment you freak out for receiving a negative frequency or vibration, and you create a label on top of what's happening, and you're judging the person back, or you're judging yourself for allowing yourself to and judging yourself for allowing yourself to begin this exchange, you are creating more negative frequencies for yourself. So when you create these negative frequencies, you understand the whole spiral, right? Negative leads to negative, that leads to negative, and to return to the positive state can be very challenging. So you want to be aware of those exchanges without attachment to it and just being kind to yourself. So when you realize you're communicating to someone for a particular purpose, and again, when it's fear driven, a lot of the negativity can be created. And unfortunately, a lot of our connections are fear-based because we are serving that fearful part of ourselves that is like, well, I want to get this from this person. I want to maintain this with this person. Therefore, I need to talk to them. And I don't care what I'm sending or receiving because I just care about this end goal right here, this thing that is keeping our tie. So be careful because later, again, no wonder why you end up repressing so much negative energy and storing so much of that in your body. And later you might create hate towards this person unconsciously. And be aware of this word unconscious because even though you're unconscious, that doesn't mean that unconscious is not real. The unconscious is part of who you are. So you may say, I am this person here who is conscious of this thing and that therefore I act like this. However, your unconscious is part of the totality of who you are. And when you disassociate, you become this fragmented being, this fragmented entity that is trying to just like, act from like what you consider to be good, and you repress that which is negative or bad because you're not really aware of that is the first place. So communicating with others with kindness, with love, with consciousness is really important. And when you don't feel like at that place, or you don't feel the energy flowing naturally with this other person, it's okay to also leave it aside and just pray consciously, like, I wish good to this person. I will wait for the right time for me to reply, so I just don't react impulsively for fear. Again, we tend to react from fear, like, oh, I gotta reply to my boss, otherwise they're gonna think this or that of me. It's better that your boss creates their own judgment and thoughts about you when you decide to not reply them for some time, than you reacting immediately and share something negative to them where they can immediately judge you. Because when they're judging you for not really knowing what's going on there, they might question later on and say, well, there's no really reason for me to think this of this person. Like, once you reply, then bring the positive back, and that will make the connection neutral again, or you will neutralize the negative thoughts they had about you. So it's really interesting, but ultimately, that which we call God is your relationship with yourself, that it equals also your relationship with others. When you feel like your surroundings, the connections you have are vibrating positively, you feel good about yourself too. And when you feel good about yourself, you also emanate that vibration towards others. Therefore, you also create harmonious relationships with others. Now, I want to talk a little bit about vibes in just public places and like people who you don't know, so forth. Again, I think it's awesome, like people who are very social and connect to everyone. I used to be this kind of person too. I started to again do this work with myself, and I realized that just because you are kind and you want to share love, it doesn't mean you need to share your love to everyone, because you might end up drained. Also, you don't want to take it from everyone. You don't want to give to everyone. You don't want to take from everyone, because you don't know the source of where it's coming, this thing that you're taking. Appearance might deceive. And a lot of the times you might see someone really smiley and like trying to like, hey, come do this and that. And this might just be fear-based. And again, because it's fear-based, the unconscious is repressed with the negativity, with that fear, and they consciously just like, I'm gonna be a kind person, I'm gonna show kindness even when I don't feel like it. I think it's cool, those of you who embrace that whole like peace and love, I'm just gonna be like me, happy all the time, as long as you're connected to truth. Again, when you're not connected to truth, you're not connected from if you're not connected to your heart, whatever it is that you're sharing towards others can be received negatively. Therefore, that might also come back to you, because there's no such a thing as a connection that is just like me to you. There's always a back and forth. So be aware again of the silence. Try to like stay in silence with someone you start a conversation with, even if it seems really delicious, pleasurable. Like, try to just be in silence with that person and just see what's flowing through you to this person, especially romantic relationships. That's such an interesting thing. And no wonder why the dating scene for millennials and for baby boomers and in general, it's a little act up, because people are not really aware of what's happening, with the emotions. They lack emotional intelligence. They lack spiritual intelligence. So they just judge each other all the time. They will stay together for as long as they call like we're having a good time. The moment they stop having a good time, they just block each other and they stop right there. I believe it's important to honor those moments of silence, because you start to realize really what you feel about yourself in front of this person. And that it's never about the other person. It's really what you feel about yourself in this connection. Is like, this person is reflecting something about me that I'm seeing. And life is giving me the opportunity to heal. Even when I see some of the negative of myself projected in this other person, I can take that as an opportunity for healing, as long as I don't repress or resist. But when we have so much of that accumulated, it's hard to really like do this work on the spot, especially when you don't have a therapist, you don't have anyone to talk about, or you don't have resources that you can um, go to find references to help you be a little more realized in this area. So we tend to block a lot of connections and opportunities in lives and things because we don't understand why this person is reflecting this aspect of me and so forth. But just because you are reflecting the dark side of the other person, that doesn't mean you shouldn't be aware of what's happening. I think the moment like I turn into something really like that I consider like, you know, dark or negative when I'm in front of someone and I'm feeling their energy so much that it's like I can't connect to my heart. I just feel like there's no point in seizing this connect and maintaining this connection because clearly I'm not offering a lot of good to this person, and they don't understand really what they can do with the negative that they're seeing from me. If they are and they wish to maintain that connection, they might also help themselves by helping me or help me by helping themselves. And they can come up with the right questions, like, and try to shape that feeling. And that's when we kind of lead into transmuting, right? So when you're vibing with someone and you're aware of what's happening behind the scenes, the insecurities and so forth, you can use direct questions to try to address this feeling and change the shape of this feeling in direction really of where you guys are going. Um, I don't know, there's so many questions out there, but like when did this first start? When was the first time you've ever felt that way? What does this mean to you? What do you see in front of you? Like this might blow out someone's mind, really, especially if you're just having like a very shallow conversation with them, and then you start to realize the depths of it, it's starting to arise, the connection starts to really become something, and you shift completely to really like serve them and start asking these questions. They might be like, "What?" But with a smile, with kindness, with love, you can arrive to that place together, and both of you again can help each other ultimately heal. So I think that's it for vibes. I'd like to continue, but I feel like I have said quite enough. And I hope this helps you to gain some clarity on this subject that it's becoming more popular, but I just find it funny how a lot of people have no clue what they are doing, or like really they say, oh, we're just vibing, but they don't understand really what vibing is. I want to say also that you're a creator. And ultimately, when you marry somebody else's energy, you guys are making babies. And I'm not joking. And you might think like, what the fuck, Rah Maria, what is she talking about? Well, the whole 69 Tantra is real, and if you don't know about it, you should do some more research. But you guys are all creators. You have female and male within you. So the female energies in you might marry somebody else's male's energies, and you guys might be creating blessings or tragedies. So be very aware of what you're being attracting because um, again, you will only know if the vibes, are really good when you see the outcome of this relationship, but when you see the babies that you guys have been creating together. So start to realize how that is going out for you. Like you spend a full day with someone, the next day you start to realize this thing is happening, that is happening. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Okay, universe, thank you so much. I believe today I'm about to learn amazing lessons. And again, those lessons are valuable for your spiritual ascension, but you might not be necessarily destined to experience all of this if it wasn't for the babies, that you had that you had created the day before, if that makes sense. Like not everything is really meant to be for you. Like especially if you're attracting a lot of tragedies and you've been surrounding yourself with a lot of negative people and you've been giving yourself a lot if you've been giving a lot of your energy to people who don't connect to God, who don't connect to their bodies, to their minds, who are just very much like mind, mind, mind. I've been setting even that as a boundary for myself, like, okay, If I get to choose who I surround myself with, I don't want to surround myself with people who are disconnected from the emotions, from the feelings, and who is just extremely rational. In the past, I saw myself falling into those relationships. It felt pretty good for some time. I wasn't that rational myself, and at some point, I started seeing that rational side of me came out really strong, and I didn't know that I was really becoming like the other person because during this moment of vibing, right, you start to pick up from things from each other at an unconscious level. So you might start acting like the other person. There's this thing called the neurons in your brain, and they mirror one another, right? So sometimes even the way you think can be affected by the connections you've been keeping. That's crazy, right? I know. And I wish I could bring more scientific research and studies to really back up all that I'm saying to you. But I think um based on some of the things you've been listening, you can look it up by yourself. You can even ask ChatGPT in order to realize the truth. And I could do this here right now, actually. We're gonna connect to ChatGPT and just see what she thinks about vibing. So let me share my screen. I mean, I don't have ice cream, but I can share my screen if that's okay. So, what does it mean to vibe with someone? To vibe with someone means that you naturally connect with them emotionally, energetically, or intuitively in a way that feels easy and aligned. It's more just like king someone. It's about feeling understood, comfortable, and in sync without having to force it. You might share a similar outlook in life, sense of human. So this is when you say, "Oh, I vibed with that person," right? When you had a positive vibe with someone. But even that expression is not accurate because you are always vibing with someone the moment you connect with them. The question is whether you're vibing negatively or positive. So I'm gonna ask Chad, what does it mean to vibe negatively with someone? So she's probably gonna just answer the negative of the opposite of what she said. Energies, personalities, or emotional states clash instead of harmonize. It's when you feel an unspoken discomfort or tension around someone, even if they haven't done anything all really wrong. The connection feels draining, off, or heavy rather than easy and uplifting. So I think this we can use this words easy and uplifting, positive vibes. Draining, heavy equals vibing negatively. Here are some common signs you've been vibing negatively. You feel anxious, bored, and irritated when they're around. The conversation feels forced, so the presence throws off your mood. You sense hidden judgment, competitive, and low emotional mismatch. After spending time with them, you feel drained instead of recharge. It doesn't mean that person is bad. It often means your energetic frequencies or emotional patterns don't align. Okay, we can pause right here. Energetic frequencies or emotional patterns don't align. Sometimes it's temporary, like one person's in a low mood, and other times it's more fundamental values, communication style, or intentions don't fit. Um, what is happening? Sure. What is happening actually, energetically or psychologically? This is where things get really interesting. When two people vibe negatively, there are usually two layers to what's happening, one energetic and one psychological. Psychological. Energetically, every person emits a kind of vibrational frequency, not in a mystical sense only, but as the sum of the emotional state, thoughts, and presence. When you're calm, open, and grounded, your energy radiates coherence. When someone else is anxious, angry, defensive, controlling, the energy radiates tension or dishonest. When those frequencies match, your nervous system pick up on each other instantly. If they align, you feel harmony. That's positive vibing. If they clash, your body senses resistance. Your heart rate might change. You feel unease, or you instinctively pull away. It's like trying to play two songs in different keys at the same time. The sound just doesn't blend. Psychologically, negative vibing often happens when one or more of these dynamics is present. Unmet expectations or projections, you might subconsciously expect them to behave a certain way, and when they don't, tension arises. Emotional mirroring, the other person reflects back something you're avoiding in yourself: insecurity, arrogance, sadness. Defense mechanisms, your subconscious detects potential threat or judgment, and your nervous system moves into mild fight, flight, or freeze mode. Value misalignment. Deep down, you sense that your priorities or ways of seeing life don't match. In short, energetically is frequency mismatch. Psychologically is boundary or belief mismatch. That's it. So the best way is always ask directly questions to realize, um, what can be wrong. Some questions you can ask to detect that in the moment with someone. If you're really up to making this connection meaningful because you know this person has something for you and you don't want to like let go of this thing you truly want because you depend on this connection make it to make it better. You can obviously have some like internal checking questions like how does my body feel right now? Am I breathing naturally? Do I feel safe and open? Am I trying to impress, defend, or prove something? Do I feel seen, heard? Is my heart expanding or closing? So those are internal checking questions, right? To see how really what's really happening at your emotional state. External curiosity questions you can ask how are you feeling this moment, not how you're doing, but feeling. What's been on your mind today? You can ask that person. Do you feel comfortable right now? What kind of energy do you like to be around? What helps you feel at ease when you meet new people? So you can break the ice and ask these questions to the person because sometimes they're just feeling really nervous and the emotional frequency is really affecting yours in the moment. So you want to calm them down so you can calm yourself down. Sometimes the best way is like really coming out of yourself and like, let me try to calm this person down to see if my emotional system changes. And not everyone has the ability to go out of body, meaning to get into awareness before they come back into the physical, into the ego, the personality in the moment. But this is something that you can do even, especially when you start dating someone to make sure you guys are in harmony, meaning the notes are playing in harmony. So that's it for me. I'm Rah Maria, and it's always a pleasure to share wisdom, self knowledge, spiritual talk to you guys. See you next time.